I'm not quite sure y'all are ready for this conversation. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about Brian Flores suing the NFL due to racism and hiring practices. There's a whole lot to this story, and I had to cover it, but we got to back up a little bit here to explain what's going on, just so we'll be on the same page with each other and so you have proper context. Now, Brian Flores was the head coach of the Miami Dolphins for, I believe, 2 seasons or 2 or 3 seasons. He did okay as a coach. He had a 10-6 season and then a 9-7 season, if I'm not mistaken. And that was the first back-to-back winning seasons in a long time in Dolphins history. So he did okay, but he got fired from their job for whatever the reason may be. So he's out there trying to find another job, and he is going on interviews. And he had an interview lined up for, I believe, the New York Giants. So if I'm wrong about the specific team, y'all let me know in the comments. So Bill Belichick, the coach of the New England Patriots, texted Brian Flores like, hey, man, congrats on the new job. You earned it, man, et cetera, et cetera. But when he texted him, he hadn't even interviewed for the job yet. So it's like, what's going on? So Brian Flores texted him back saying, hey, are you texting the right Brian? Are you texting Brian Flores or Brian Daboll? Because Brian Daboll wound up getting that job. So Bill Belichick texted him back like, oh, I'm sorry, man, I effed this up. It looks like Daboll got the job, not you. So it was like, okay, that was already decided before I was going to go for the interview. So what was the purpose in me going out there for the interview? It was a sham. And there was other things he had seen throughout the years. So he said, okay, you know what? I want to invoke change. I want to be Colin Kaepernick. He didn't say that, but others have said it for him. And that's a different story, and I digress. But he did say that he wants to see change in the hiring practices, and that's why he went out there and sued the NFL. Now, there's a whole lot here. First of all, okay, I guess the problem is that all the teams are owned by white men, if I'm not mistaken. There's only one black head coach in the league, and that's Mike Tomlin, my Virginia brethren, and he's on the Steelers. Now, the Steelers are a very important team here because the only reason why a lot of these minority head coaches are interviewed is because of a thing called the Rooney Rule. Now, Art Rooney was the owner of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's passed away a while back, and I think his family still owns the team. If I'm wrong about that, y'all let me know. But the Rooney Rule states you must at least interview one black person for an open head coaching position. And I think that rule has been changed to you got to interview 2. So there's an obligatory rule, like you have to interview at least 1, maybe even 2 non-whites, maybe even black or minority, whatever, for any head coaching position. So even if the owners already got who they want, they already pretty much hired them, they interviewed them, they brought the family, et cetera, they got to hire up, they got to interview others to satisfy the Rooney Rule. So Brian Flores is saying that one interview he went on, I'm not sure if it was the Giants or whatever it was, but one interview they went on, he could tell it wasn't serious. They came in there like they were hungover. They'd been drinking a lot before. They had no intentions of doing anything other than satisfying the Rooney Rule. So he's like, okay, this ain't really right. I think 70% or thereabout of the NFL, as far as the player side, are black. Well, I would say probably black, not even necessarily minority, but probably 70% black. And there's only one black head coach. So I need to come in here and try to make change. But see, the problem is that you can't really force the owners to hire who you want them to hire. You can't really do that. I mean, that's at a certain point, isn't that racism? If you come to an owner and say, hey, man, you can't hire that white guy because he's white, hire that black guy. Are we not taking into consideration the skill level, the talent, the personal relationships, or what the person wants to do? How are you going to tell them what to do and what not to do? That's their decision. It's their team. It's their money. You can't make them hire whoever you want them to hire. And it can't be about, oh, we need to have more minorities getting money from the NFL, because I think the NFL and the NBA have the highest concentration of black millionaires at any profession in the world. So, I mean, I'm not really understanding how you would even make a case to say that there must be more black head coaches and do it by force. You can't dictate to someone who to hire. And matter of fact, a prime example is Brian Flores himself, the former Dolphins head coach. He was on TV after the whole lawsuit came out, pleading his case, talking to ESPN, talking to, what was that, Mike Greenberg or whatever. He had two lawyers there. Now, what color were these lawyers? Were they Asian? No. Hispanic? No. Black like him? Black brothers and sisters? No. Two white guys. Might have been Jewish, I don't know, but they look like two regular white guys. So if the guy that's suing the NFL because of unfair, quote unquote, unfair hiring practices can't even get two black lawyers, then how are you going to tell the owner that you got to have a black head coach? I don't understand how that really makes any sense. And then let's go into the NFL itself. Now, there are certain positions in the NFL that are also kind of controversial because they lack, quote unquote, diversity. But some that also lack diversity are not controversial, and I'll explain. Now, most of the quarterbacks in the league are white. That's just what it is. And I think the guys that are in the league right now, well, the guys that are going to play in the Super Bowl right now are white. Joe Burrow and the other guy, I forget his name, but y'all know, y'all let me know in the comments. And to speak about Joe Burrow right quick, as I kind of digress a little bit, Brian Flores said that he was offered $100,000 per game to lose. That's called tanking. They do that. Well, they did that a lot in the NBA before they changed the draft lottery. The team that has the most losses has a higher chance of getting the first round, the first overall pick. So if you come in dead last in the NFL, I think the way it is now, I'm not sure if there's a lottery or if it just goes by losses. If you lose all your games, you're getting the first pick overall. And I think the objective in Miami was to get Joe Burrow. So they wanted him to tank, but he didn't want to tank. He didn't do it, so he didn't follow directions. That's probably why he got fired. So he's not liking the politics that are behind the game. But tanking is not a thing that is unique to black coaches or white coaches. White guys go in there, they get hired for a year, they get fired, they tank, they do all of that. In the NBA, NFL, etc., that's just what it is. But I digress. The whole point is that the white quarterbacks pretty much dominate the league. That's just what it is. You have some black quarterbacks that are pretty good. You have Russell Wilson still. Who else? Lamar Jackson. You got some guys that are out there doing pretty well. But for the most part, most of the quarterbacks are white. And people say that's racist too because black quarterbacks don't get a chance, et cetera, et cetera. But nobody says it's racist when you have most of the wide receivers, cornerbacks, defensive linemen, like all these speed positions. Nobody says it's racist when those positions are filled by black players. When you look at the best all-time wide receivers, you're not going to mention one white guy. You're going to talk about Randy Moss, Jerry Rice, maybe even a Chris Carter, Megatron from the Lions. You're going to talk about guys like that. You're talking about running backs, Barry Sanders, Emmitt Smith, Warwick Dunn. Okay, you talk about guys of that nature. You know, black guys about 5'8", 240 pounds, a neck about that big. That's going to be your great running back. You got you're not going to be too tall because you want to be able to get through the trees and kind of low center of gravity, hard to tackle, hard to get down on the ground. That's just what it is for the running backs. And for the wide receivers, they're going to be about 6'3", 6'4", slim, can run fast, jump high, like basketball players. That's why Tony Gonzalez was good as a tight end because he was also a basketball player. You know, as a tight end, you want to have that size to be able to be on the line, but at the same time, the dexterity to be able to go out there, catch a ball, run, break tackles, etc. You see what I'm saying? So there's like when there's a lack of diversity in certain positions that are dominated by black players in the NFL, it's not a problem. When you're talking about quarterbacks, that is a problem because they're seen as a team leader. That's generally it. Okay, they don't talk about the offensive line where you got a bunch of these 300-pound corn-fed country white guys right there on the line. That's not really a problem either because that's not a glorious position. Most of those guys are going to be white. You have some black guys right there. They're mostly white, though. I see more white guys on the O-line than the D-line, always. I almost never see a white guy on the D-line. That's just what it is as far as the NFL. So it's weird. It's like some things are considered racist or discriminatory, or we need to have more of a certain race there, but other things are not. I say ultimately hire whoever's the best person. If it just so happens that the best head coaches are going to be white, then it is what it is. Now, if you could find a great black head coach, Hispanic, Asian, or whatever, hire them too. It shouldn't really matter. But I think one of the main things beyond just the skill of a head coach is also like, it's kind of like nepotism. I think North Turner's son is now on the quote unquote Washington football team. I think the new name is going to be the Washington Commanders. It's pretty gross, but anyway, you got legacy. It's like, okay, your dad was a coach. Now you're going to be the coach. But you see that among black players too. Wes Unseld was a legendary NBA figure, played for the Washington, I think at the time, Bullets. His son, Wes Unseld Jr., and they're both black, is now the Wizards head coach. So it's just kind of weird. It's really weird. You got guys that have played in the NBA. Their sons are now in the NBA. Okay, you have Klay Thompson. His father was in the NBA. Gary Payton Jr., obviously. Tim Hardaway Jr. All these guys are in the NBA, and their dad were too. Now you think that maybe their dad being in the NBA and having connections and knowing people, that might influence it. Austin Rivers, his dad is Doc Rivers, and for a while he played for his dad in the NBA. So I think at the end of the day, as I close, I'm not sure what Brian Flores will accomplish with the lawsuit. I don't really know. He says that his career might be over. He may have sacrificed himself, but I'm not sure what he's going to actually gain. There's been lawsuits similar to this in the past. I think one was about free agency, and that helped because guys were able to have free agency. Now, I'm not sure if that's good or bad for the league, being able to just say, all right, I'm going to leave and destroy the team or whatever. There's pros and cons to that, I suppose, but that's good for the players to be able to have free agency at a certain point. So I think some lawsuits, although it may damage your career, could be good for the game. But what are you going to get from this? Are you going to forcibly make guys hire black coaches? How can you do that? That's their decision. That's their hiring and firing. You can do whatever you want as a small business, or not small business, a business. You know, these are pretty big businesses. You're talking about billionaires that own the team, but you can do whatever you want, though. That's your prerogative. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? How do you feel about what's going on here with Brian Flores' lawsuit? Is it going to go anywhere? Is it not going to go anywhere? Whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. I think if you are an NFL team owner, you should be able to hire and fire whoever you want. That's how I feel about it. And again, the majority of the NFL on the player side is black. I think like 60 to 70% is majority black. The biggest concentration or highest concentration of black millionaires in one area, NFL, NBA, right there. So I'm not understanding what the problem is. If you want more black owners, you got to get money together and become an owner. You want more black head coaches? Well, do whatever you can to gain the necessary skills, gain the friends, gain the network, whatever you can to become the head coach. Okay, I've heard about guys wanting to start their own league. That goes back to getting the money. If you want to be in the NFL as an owner, get the money. And if you feel like there's not really an opening for you to even buy a team, which usually it's not, because again, the Pittsburgh Steelers were owned by Art Rooney. Now his family owns it. How you going to break that? I don't really know. That's like trying to buy Walmart. I mean, you going to take it from the Walton family, really? You could be like, you know what? There's not enough black corporate owners in the world. I'm going to buy Walmart. It's like, good luck with that. Good luck with that. How are you going to force them to sell? It's just kind of weird. I think we need to just not be so sensitive about some of these issues and look at it from a more practical point of view. If you want to own, you want to be in charge, you want to be the king, start your own thing rather than trying to take something that somebody else has and make it be what you want. That's just my humble opinion. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.